at the nighttime, nah, nah, nah. I don't get nobody, yeah. If you give me body, I won't tell nobody, yeah. Valley girl, she wears clothes. Now she want me pool skirt, so me pool skirt. Valley girl, she wears clothes.
Grammy nominated, really? KBLA Talk 1580. I know Chris Brown's setting all kinds of records for sales and things. And I also know they are preparing a documentary about him. They're doing a surviving Chris Brown kind of thing. I am not really looking forward to that. I'll watch it, but I'm not really looking forward to that. I feel like he's always gotten the short end of the stick, being a young person who was abused by the industry, similar to how Justin Bieber was treated and then criminalized rather than being given grace, even though he did a lot of work to turn his life around, anger management, the counseling, the community service. And I was going to say, because he's not white, but then I started thinking about Britney Spears and how they did her and how this industry just chews up and spits out the young folks. And hopefully it's getting better. I mean, I saw the legendary interview where Diane Sawyer just rips Britney Spears as a basically teenage artist, and we've seen that with the Diddy tapes with Justin Bieber. And make no mistake, Chris Brown is in that same category. So anyway, I digress. This is a perfect time to call me. I know it's Wealth Building Wednesday, and coming out on this other side of this election, we are still committed to highlighting Black-owned, BIPOC-owned small businesses. In fact, tonight I will be doing a webinar with Marie Deary of wealthmanagement.org. You can go to wealthmanagement.org. Wealth Management LB, Wealth Management LB. I think it's actually, I'm wrong. I think it's wealthmanagementlb.com. Yeah, that's it. Wealthmanagementlb.com. She's doing a seminar on a webinar on how the election of Donald Trump will impact small businesses. And if you are the owner of a small business or you're looking to start one, you may want to tune into that. It's tonight at 6:30. You can go to wealthmanagementlb.com, and that will serve as our Wealth Building Wednesday tip for today, which is, let's get in this. There are some things that you can do now to protect your business. We have, 69 days until Trump is sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. And there are some things we can do. You heard Craig DeLuz on yesterday on our Talking Point Tuesday, Black Republican, who says he doesn't believe that DJT will enact those tariffs. He thinks the tariffs are just a threat to get better deals out of China and such. I hope he's right, but I think he's really more symptomatic of the denial that many Americans, including Republicans and especially black ones, have made in calculating who to vote for. I think that's why people are Google searching, how do I change my vote? You can't. You have to wait 4 years or at least 2 years until the midterm elections, when we will be able to at least get the Senate and or the House back. I feel like we're going to see a lot more sudden moves in leadership, and we'll see about that. That's what I'm feeling in my spirit. But there are things we can do to protect our small businesses, to protect ourselves, and to be at least somewhat prepared for the shifts that are ahead if those tariffs turn out to be not just a threat. If the rich people around him don't protect the American consumer and the American small business, this will surely be a big problem. Because tariffs, are paid by the person importing the thing. So if you need 1,000 plastic bottles for your juices that you sell, and they come from China or any other country, those will now cost you more because there is a tariff, which is a tax that will be paid by you, the person that wants the thing from another country. And that will be passed on to the consumer. So that means The prices of everything are going up. If you're thinking of buying a car, I would do it now. If you're thinking of buying tons of tiny juice bottles for your product that you sell, I would do it now. If you use hair or, human hair or any, what, Miles? Electronics, yeah, pretty much anything that you use for your business. If you can get it in the next 69 days, or because even if he is sworn in, those are probably not going to take effect the first week, but between now and the end of January, I would try to do that because we don't know. Maybe Craig DeLuz is right. I think it's delusional because I believe that a lot of folks who voted for Trump have a similar attitude to Craig DeLuz. Oh, he's not really going to enact the tariffs. He's not really going to deport everyone. You see how he said he's just going to deport the criminals. Well, most of the criminals are already in jail, or they've been deported. That's rhetoric. So maybe they're right. The guy talks a lot of stuff that he never does, but I wouldn't count on it. And I feel that, yeah, and Paul Lee says he's moving the other way, clearing out the credit card debt. Yeah, that's good too. Get rid of debts. You don't know what's going to happen with banking, with interest rates. What we know is that Bitcoin and billionaires ruled this election. That's what we know for sure. So in any case, my Wealth Building Wednesday tip for today is tune in tonight. I'll be on with Marie Deary and some other experts with some solid information about what we can expect under a Trump economy, specifically for small businesses, how we can insulate ourselves and how we can make sure that we continue to thrive. Certainly, this is not a time to throw up our hands and give up, but it is definitely a time to be prepared. And yeah, cash is king. Stack your cash, pay off debt as much as you can. And if you have to make a purchase, and you're in a position to do it now rather than waiting, do it now. Because it is going to cost more in 2025 unless, unless something else happens and the Trump agenda is not enacted. The other thing I'll add to this little sort of freestyle Wealth Building Wednesday moment is to support projects like Bishop Sherman D. Manning's tinyhomesproject.com, whether you want to make a donation or whether you want to donate your time. You could be a college student. You could also be an older American who's retired and has time on their hands and wants to be part of solving the issue of houselessness in this city, in this country, in this community. The tinyhomesproject.com is where you can go for that. I feel like we are going to have to do what the mayor called on us to do, which is for private business and regular citizens to step up. And I believe it may be even more important than ever, given that we could be looking at some possible, I'm not going to say definite, but possible chaos in our county as we move from 5 to 9 supervisorial seats. We've got to figure out how to get the money for that, how it's going to be chopped up and divided. And as we highly politicize the office of the county CEO by making that an elected position. So we're going to have to do, all of us have to do our part. Look, if you're interested in having your business, if you're a woman-owned, BIPOC-owned, Black-owned business, if you're a smaller business, if you're local, and especially my socially innovative enterprises, meaning that some kind of social good is built into your business plan, we would love to have you on. Please reach out to me. You can email me, DiPrimaRadio@gmail.com, DiPrimaRadio@gmail.com. You can DM me. I would suggest Instagram because I never look at I have so many. Look, just don't DM me on Facebook. I'll never see it. DM me on Instagram or on Twitter. I'm at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. I would love to feature your business, give you a shot. We're all going to need all the help we can get. I think this is the moment to be really intentional about recycling Black dollars. And we are here to help that happen, not just on our website, but on Wealth Building Wednesday. So please step up and let's feature you. Let's give you some love and some black dollars. 800-920-1580. That's the number. It's all calls are welcome, whatever the topic or conversation. I want to look at some of these fast-moving train wrecks that are taking place under the Trump administration in its formative moments. And we can continue our conversation about what Biden ought to be doing. The talk of Kamala Harris being sworn in as president is getting louder. I am not for that. I want a woman to have a full term to get something done. However, I know some people disagree. I'm for Biden signing an executive order on reparations. I'm for Biden freeing, Mumia, freeing all political prisoners. I'm for Biden doing all kinds of important things by executive order to force Trump to undo them. Protecting a woman's right to get care through when she has a miscarriage, whatever it is, everything that we want, student loan forgiveness, do it all by executive order and make Trump undo them one by one, if nothing else, just to show his behind and where he actually stands, which is with the uber wealthy. 800-920-1580 if you want to talk about it. I'm here. We are elevating black and progressive voices around the clock. We are KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward. Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at WalkGoodLA. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Here's another great reason to use the United States Postal Service this season. When sending a package, why venture outside? Ship with USPS for a true holiday ride. Want to stay cozy and warm? There's no need to roam. With free package pickup and labels printed from home. We have over 600,000 employees always in motion. And before you know it, your gift has delivered emotion. Spread the holiday joy this season with USPS's Enhanced Network. Learn more at USPS.com/holiday ride.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the amount of stuff that's going on so fast, it does feel different this time. I noticed that, and let me know if you noticed that since the election, Trump has been laser focused. All of his speeches are right on the teleprompter. He's not wandering around talking about windmills. So was that an act? Or was that meant to lull us into complacency because he knew he had the votes? Well, we'll talk about that more in the next hour, whether or not he cheated. But I think, as I tweeted yesterday, he's put Elon Musk in charge of the brand new department of government efficiency. Him and Vivek Ramaswamy. And I mean, I'm laughing because the irony of creating a new government department to help reduce government departments. I mean, it's so Trumpy. So we have a new Department of Government Efficiency that's meant to cut trillions of dollars from the budget by a guy who gets millions of dollars. You know, Musk has gotten millions and millions of dollars in subsidies from both Republican and Democratic administrations. Now he's in charge of cutting the waste along with Vivek Ramaswamy. And they're supposed to be advisors, and they're saying it's not an official government department, but nevertheless, that costs money. You don't just, Vivek and Elon's excellent adventure. I also have a challenge to my reparationist Republicans, and someone told me yesterday not to talk about this because it's too soon and it's too raw. And I'm not trying to crow, but I'm just saying there is a substantive number of reparationists, whether they be ADOS or whoever they are, who feel that Republicans will deliver reparations. Where's the signs of that? So far, I've heard him complaining about DEI and talking about giving white people money for the harms that have been caused to them by equity programs, which many people are labeling reparations for white people. Crickets? Yvette Carnell, other folks who have been 10 toes down for Trump, the ones that didn't veer off to Weston Abdullah or Stein or whatever. Where's the evidence that this man is going to do anything for black people? And most particularly will advance reparations. Let's go to Fahima calling us from Washington, D.C. Hi, Fahima. She there? Maybe she's not there. Is Fahima on the phone?
You hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you.
About a guy in Cape Pasa, Dominique. How are you today, my sister?
I'm getting over to the fired up side. I'm still sad and mad, but I actually believe he cheated a bit. More on that next hour. But I'm getting over to the fired up side. How are you?
Well, I did what I needed to do yesterday, so I can do what I want to do today. So I'm going to be okay, but I'm just worried about the rest of the community and folks. Well, I'm not really worried about these people who actually voted for Trump because they're going to rue the day that they did so. But the story that you mentioned, there were a number of spaces on X last night where people were talking about this. Some people were in denial, and it's just
What does that sound like? What is in denial about Trump saying that
well,
he's going to...
Well, he's not going to give them reparations. He just saying that. They're just saying it. That's not true. Just like they were denying that Project 2025 existed.
Still are, yeah.
But I just wanted to share a couple of things. One, because I called the other day, I'm sick and tired of people bringing up the crime bill, okay? First of all, Joseph Biden chaired the committee that the crime bill came out of. It was signed by Biden. It was passed in the House and the Senate, and then Bill Clinton signed it. But they didn't say, let's go and give these people this crime bill and lock them up. What happened, we were going through a terrible time in communities, and people were pleading for something to be done. In retrospect, many folks regretted what happened. But I remember people I went to high school with were turned into zombies because they'd been decimated by drugs. I remember I was dating a doctor, and his brother, who had a PhD and was a college professor, became a crack addict. I remember knowing people who grandmothers ended up having to raise their grandchildren who had developed mental issues because the parents had become addicted to crack. And so our communities were decimated all across this country. And for these people to keep saying, oh, well, Joe Biden locked us up and gave us the crime bill. People were demanding, clergy members, community activists were pleading for something to be done. In retrospect, they didn't like what was done because of the residual effect. But, to sit here and claim that Biden just decided we're going to lock all black people up and throw away the key just didn't happen. He simply chaired the committee that the crime bill came out of. Yeah,
but I understand what you're saying. I mean, I remember it, believe it or not, I was on the radio back then. And the thing about it is, it's similar to now where people are getting caught up in this law and order, lock them up, throw away the key. Oh, no, retail crime. But there were real consequences. The war on drugs did lock up and criminalize a lot of people. And so it's fair to put it in the context of the time, but it's also fair to look at the real impact.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the point that I'm making. People are just suggesting that they just implemented this unfair law against our community. People in their desperation were asking for something to be done. They didn't necessarily know what the long-term impact would be, but people were desperate and they demanded. And it wasn't a situation. Of course, we know about the Iran-Contra situation and how they put the drugs in our community. But at the same time, people continuing to say, oh, well, Joe Biden gave us the crime, but he simply chaired the damn committee that the bill came out of.
Got it. I think that's real interesting, too, what you said about spaces last night. I feel like there's a lot of people, it is almost like a relationship in the early stages where people project what they want the person to be onto the person. And then once they start finding out who the person really is, the denial lasts until it doesn't. He made it really plain yesterday or whenever he made that little teleprompter speech saying that he is going to punish universities and schools, go after their endowments as fines if they have any diversity, equity, and inclusion or affirmative action like programs. And then he will take that money and give it to the white people who have been harmed by diversity, equity, and inclusion, which means I guess he's saying that if we get a job, that means you were locked out of one. If we get a scholarship, you were locked out of one. And that is actually reparations for white people.
Well, presumably, we're only supposed to get the jobs that are going to be available after he deports immigrants, obviously.
Right. So
those are only jobs that we're
picking lettuce and being in overnight cleaners in meat packing plants and picking strawberries and taking care of all these Republicans' kids and doing their gardening. And I'm not trying to stereotype immigrants as only doing one type of job, but a lot of that low wage labor that Republican businesses and families rely on is being done by immigrants from all over the world.
Well, you know, I'm just going to say this. Our ancestors did that type of work with dignity and respect so that we would not have to. Last point, then I'm going to...
Okay, you got to hold that thought because I got a hard stop here for news, traffic, and sports. If you can hold, that'd be great. I know you're probably working. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A Minnesota man is recovering from a rare triple organ transplant. Mike Lovett now has a new kidney, heart, and lungs. He's now on his road to recovery and walked his first mile yesterday on the treadmill during rehab. Dame Brown, who survived multiple overdoses at Democratic donor Ed Buck's home, was found dead in South Los Angeles. Brown was involved in a lawsuit against Buck, who was convicted of running a drug den and causing 2 deaths. The cause of Brown's death is unclear. 3 Colorado Springs residents have been indicted for staging a hate crime hoax during the 2023 mayoral runoff election, targeting a black candidate. They are accused of defacing a campaign sign, placing a burning cross, and spreading false information. And former Disney star, actress Sky Jackson, has announced that she is pregnant with her first child. She shared her excitement with People magazine about embracing motherhood and starting new projects. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Blindster is a family-run business that began in 2010, and we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters and received over 100,000 five-star reviews. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Anthony Davis said his eye injury will not keep him from playing for the Lakers in tonight's home game against Memphis. Davis was poked in his left eye in Saturday's game against Toronto. Davis still has redness in his eye, but he said he has no plans to wear protective goggles tonight. AD is the NBA's number 2 scorer with 31.2 points per game. 7 p.m. tip-off for the Lakers and Memphis at Crypto.com Arena. The Clippers are in action tonight. They're at Houston, 5 p.m. tip-off. Here's one of the strangest stats in the NBA 3 weeks into the season. In the Eastern Conference, the undefeated Cleveland Cavaliers and the 9-2 Boston Celtics are the only teams in the conference above 500. The remaining 13 teams in the East are at 500 or below. 10 teams in the Western Conference, including the Lakers and Clippers, are at 500 or better. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you say you care about the community, you have to also care about the climate. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So, how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Here's another great reason to use the United States Postal Service this season. When sending a package, why venture outside? Ship with USPS for a true holiday ride. Want to stay cozy and warm? There's no need to roam. With free package pickup and labels printed from home. We have over 600,000 employees always in motion. And before you know it, your gift has delivered emotion. Spread the holiday joy this season with USPS's enhanced network. Learn more at USPS.com/holidayride.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for reentry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Fahima called. She was talking about Trump's proposed what I'll call reparations for white folks, not a mumble about reparations for us, and also the crime bill. And Fahima wanted to let you land here.
Just a quick point. My aunt was a custodian at Columbia University. She was also my godmother, Salma McKenzie. She worked there for many years as I was a child. And I remember in 2001, I had the chance to speak at the Critical Resistance Conference at Columbia University, likely in a room where she emptied the trash and dusted and cleaned. And the thing is that she did that work with dignity, never realizing that decades later, her godchild, her niece, would actually be speaking at that institution, you know. And so this is how far we've come. And that's not to say that domestic work and many of these types of jobs are beneath us, but our ancestors picked cotton, washed people's clothes, cleaned the room. So we have an opportunity to have an opportunity and wouldn't have to. And I'm going to land there. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak on the air of KBLA.
Absolutely, Fahima. Always appreciate you and all the information and perspective that you bring. Look, I've cleaned houses too. I mean, it's not beneath me. I've done it. I've done it when I was very young and hadn't gotten a break in media yet. I've done it. Watched kids. No problem. You got to pay my bills somehow. I'm not saying it's beneath us, and I'm not accusing Fahima of making that point. I am merely pointing out that the folks that are doing a lot of those jobs right now, that are keeping fruits and vegetables and meat products less expensive, many of them are immigrant workers. And I believe this is one of the reasons why Republicans have been rushing to legalize child labor, because they feel like children in the workforce, which is incredibly terrible, dangerous. Kids, you know, they have no impulse control. They're not, they get injured, terribly injured on jobs. They're very exploitable because they're naive. And there's a reason why we have rules against child labor in this country, which unions fought against. And now Republicans are trying to reverse that. They're already trying to figure out where they're going to get cheap, exploitable labor to replace migrant labor. I do believe that, you know, it's possible Trump could just say like, oh, I deported all the immigrants, and doesn't really deport anyone. And there are plenty of people that will believe him. Oh, life is much better. All the migrants are gone. He could do that. But given the people that he's put in place, or that he's talking about putting in place, because some of these folks do have to be confirmed by the Senate, even though he's trying to create a workaround so he can do recess appointments so that we don't have to hear about who these people are in the open Senate. Like he can sneak through these terrible picks like Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller's main goal in life is to punish immigrants. So with him as Deputy White House Chief of Staff, which is the role they're talking about putting him in, it won't just be talk. And I think the idea that tariffs are just meant to scare China Maybe. I think he really, in his Trump math, in his I've been bankrupt 6 or 7 times math, thinks that could work. He has the Senate. He could easily get, he's got a pretty wide margin in the Senate, so he could easily get all of his appointments approved. But what he doesn't want is he doesn't want you to know about these people, how wildly extremist they are, how underqualified they are. So he wants recess appointments. Recess appointments are what presidents do when they've been fighting to get their nominees approved, and for whatever reason, the Senate won't do it. Trump doesn't have that problem. He controls the Senate. And these are hardliners. So why is he trying to avoid the light of day on his candidates? I think I just answered that question. I also think it's true that he wants to normalize this idea of him being a king or an emperor, where he can do things the way other people haven't done them in the past because he's that guy. Yeah. And I do think the buyer's remorse is only just beginning, right? But this question of the President of the United States setting the intention of going after colleges' endowments and trying to defund schools that teach diversity, equity, and inclusion, that have DEI programs for their faculty and staff, and then taking the money that he gets by gouging their endowments and turning it over to individuals who claim they've been harmed or excluded by DEI programs is in fact reparations for white people. It's reparations for white people who have suffered the harm of having to try to repair the injustice to black people or others over the decades. And that is where we are right now. That is where we are right now. So I need my reparationists who supported Trump, who full-throatedly claimed, and you've heard some of them on this show, that DJT was the man, the art of the deal, the man that was going to bring reparations for black Americans, ADOS, FBA, Friedman. I really need y'all to make it make sense. Show me how. Where's the evidence? Any evidence. All I've heard so far is reparations for white people. And if you were paying attention, about 3 weeks before the election, DJT tweeted that Kamala Harris was going to give reparations, and he did it as a means to motivate his base to vote against her. Yeah, I think that's where we are. To focusing on what we want, not what we don't want, I'm hoping that this will at least bring some clarity to the reparations movement and really start to expose who the plants are, right? Who the ops are, and who's really about getting reparation for our people. Because, and look, I would love to be wrong. I would love for the Donald to prove me wrong. And today I'm granting reparations and ironclad, no BS. But I don't think so. And, and the fact that some of his close allies, including Nick Fuentes, who had lunch with at Mar-a-Lago, are saying, it was about Project 2025 all along. We lied. But yet you've got folks like Craig DeLuz, who was on my show yesterday, denying that Trump plans to enact Project 2025. It's very telling. It's a level of denial. And I think we are in the find out period of FAFO, F around and find out. This is the find out period. And while I am doing my best, and I will continue to maintain my worldview of coalition and harmony and abundance, I am going to admit that I'm going to be a lot less sympathetic when you have a problem that we tried to get you to vote against and you didn't. You know, when we have a problem with people voting for Trump and then trying to put abortion protections in their state houses, which happened across the country. We don't need a Harris administration or a West administration to protect us from Dobbs and Drumpf and the new Confederate authoritarians. That's not true. If a national abortion ban passes, it overrides your state laws, whatever they might be. Same with marriage equality, by the way, California. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Another nice victory in Cali, even as they're still counting ballots for some House seats. We'll look at that and more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Workers in California cut and polish man-made stone for countertops, showers, and more. Without proper protections, workers breathe in harmful dust from the artificial stone material, which puts them at risk of developing silicosis. California employers are required to protect their employees from harmful silica dust by providing proper equipment and training. Stop dusty and deadly practices. Learn more at worksafewithsilica.org. This is a message from Cal OSHA.
Join the Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center for a great day in Black Hollywood. Friday, November 15th, 7 p.m. at the Regal LA Live Theaters, downtown Los Angeles. This is the opening night celebration of the 30th annual S.E. Manley African American Short Film Showcase, honoring Deborah Pratt, Lyndon Barrios, Janine Sherman Barrios, Art Sims, Dee Stevens, Gina Lemieux Davis, and Dr. Gloria Zervine. The weekend continues on Saturday, November 16th and November 17th with over 60 short films and industry panels on careers in Hollywood and directors on directing. Get your tickets today at bherc.org or call 323-957-4656. Again, 323-957-4656. See you there. That's bherc.org.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
So, yeah, a couple bright spots in the spirit of focusing on what we want, not what we don't want. Most of us, myself included, believe that Katie Porter's seat in the House of Representatives would go back to red. That's Irvine. That's a Orange County seat, I should say. She, of course, ran for senator. Adam Schiff defeated her, and so she lost that spot. But now it has stayed blue. Dave Min has won. Republican Scott Ball has conceded that race, and so that's a great result in an area that many of us were concerned about, mainly because the guy, we're worried about control of the House of Representatives, which the Republicans are 2 seats away from getting. But the votes are still being counted. And the other good news is that, as Trump, if he continues to pick folks for cabinet positions out of the House of Representatives, that will also narrow it because those seats then have to be filled either by special election, I believe, in most cases. So that's a little bright spot. Also, I know I have kind of dismissed this idea of Vice President Kamala Harris running for governor. For me, it's not logical. You've already been vice president. You've been within striking distance of becoming the president of the United States. Why would you be a governor? Even though we know that there have been very few black governors in the nation's history, and have we had a black woman governor? I don't know the answer to that, turns out. But the polling apparently is showing that Kamala Harris would probably win if she decided to run for governor. That, to me, is not at all surprising because, now she's run a national race and tons of money in advertising and so much exposure. This is from the UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies, co-sponsored by the LA Times. They found out that if Kamala Harris was to run, it's 2026, that election, that half of voters would be in California would be somewhat or very likely to support her. Excuse me. This, of course, is happening, against the backdrop of a very, very crowded field. A lot of people running for governor. Antonio Villaraigosa has declared. Betty Yee has declared. Tony Thurmond is running. But it looks like if she should decide to step in and run for governor, she would have huge support from Dems. And in the state of California, we have a 2-to-1 voter registration advantage over Republicans. 72% of Dems said they are likely or very likely to vote for Kamala Harris. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she will run for governor. Certainly would give her a platform. It would give her another opportunity to make history. I just don't know. It's interesting that the polling shows Californians are less supportive of Harris for governor as they are of Harris for president. So it's an interesting dynamic. I think she would easily win it. I just don't know if it's the best move for her. I might be wrong. And, we are still counting votes here in California. And some of those seats could end up being important for the control of the House of Representatives. To be clear, the president-elect controls the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, where they have voted, a divided Supreme Court voted to give him immunity, so he can do whatever he wants. So we start there. He has a broad advantage in the U.S. Senate, and we're only waiting to see what happens with the House of Representatives. Republicans only need to prevail in 2 more seats to have that majority. It's not a big majority, but it's a majority nonetheless, meaning they can pass a lot of stuff. They can do a lot of damage. So for me, the question is, well, one of the questions is how much will the incompetence and infighting that typically accompanies Trump, no matter what he's doing, how much will that help us? How much will that... Rob Taylor says they deserve to have both houses. They earned it. And I want to talk about that next hour, in the final hour of today's show. I believe he cheated. I believe the cabal of South African tech bro billionaires certainly have the skills to innovatively hack an election. Elon Musk has said anything can be hacked. He tweeted that. But we'll talk about that next hour. I want to know what you think. Am I tripping? In any case, I need to know. Somebody needs to investigate this because I need to know. Is my country really that full of a word I can't say on the radio? Or are we being deceived by the ultimate hackers? And I think we are going to find out. I think the truth is going to come out. Meanwhile, though, I'm wondering, as my dear friend and relative pointed out to me, there is no wall. There are more than concepts of a wall. There are patches of wall here and there, but there's no wall. The wall that we were promised, that you were promised, because I didn't vote for the guy in 2016 or 2024 or 2020. But that wall, it's not up. And the parts of it that they did build were not paid for by Mexico. So I'm hoping that the prevarications, the incompetence, the infighting, and the ego, greed, and corruption will stop the more egregious parts of the Trump agenda and Project 2025 from being implemented. It's already starting. There's grumbling coming out of Mar-a-Lago that Elon Musk is bossing people around too much, acting like he owns the place, acting like he's the co-president. People told NBC News anonymously because they're not authorized to speak, which is one of my favorite lines in American journalism. People talking out of turn. They're saying that he's been staying at Mar-a-Lago, that he's been aggressive in pushing his views about what Trump should be doing. And they're saying that it's starting to wear on people. They're getting sick of him. He's overstayed his welcome. And that he's taking tons of credit for the president's victory, bragging about America PAC and X to everyone and everyone. And that this is really, I think, key. He is trying to make President Trump feel indebted to him. This is a quote, an anonymous quote to NBC News. And the president is indebted to no one. But we don't know that, do we? Trump was on the phone with Putin. Elon was on the phone with Putin 2 times that we know of in the weeks prior to the election. Putin is a master of stealing elections. Elon says anything can be hacked. Peter Thiel is a Silicon Valley robber baron, also with South African roots. The new American apartheid, the Billionaire Boys Club, the new Confederacy. If, in fact, they cheated or tipped the scales in any way, then the president-elect is, in fact, indebted to them. And we'll find out because, Trump has a bad temper. He likes to fire people. He thinks it's still The Apprentice. He likes to shame and humiliate people and then welcome them back like little Marco, who he's talking about appointing as the first Latino Secretary of State. But after he humiliated him and called him little Marco, and Marco Rubio tried to push back, he likes to humiliate people, make them come crawling back and kiss the ring, and then give them jobs. Didn't work out so well for Mitt Romney, but he does that with people. But But if Elon Musk is allowed to continue to operate as a co-president, never gets fired, never gets cast out, then perhaps he doesn't have anything on the 47th president. But in the meantime, his office, the Office of Government Efficiency, is named the Doge Office in a nod to Elon Musk's Dogecoin. To me, that's just another nod to how much this guy's getting his way. The Department of Government Efficiency, Doge. News, traffic, and sports, and let's talk about it. Did he cheat or am I tripping? 800-920-1580. We are unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A Minnesota man is recovering from a rare triple organ transplant. Mike Lovett now has a new kidney, heart, and lungs. He's now on his road to recovery and walked his first mile. A hate crime hoax during the 2023 mayoral runoff election targeting a black candidate. They are accused of defacing a campaign sign, placing a burning cross, and spreading